right, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us at Square One Lunch and Learn series. I'm your host, Trisha Ari, Senior Director of Operations here at Square One Engineering. Today, we have Principal Designer, Mr. Tim Humphrey. He has decades of experience in the engineering field as a lead product designer. He is not only a SolidWorks guru, but he developed the SolidWorks certification program at Edwards Lifesciences and is currently an instructor for their learning center.
Thank you very much. Once again, yes, as Trish met, Tim Humphrey. I've got about 45 years in the engineering field and just retired from Edwards Lifesciences after 9 years. She mentioned really involved in SolidWorks and development of people there. I'm co-owner and president of Designs Unlimited, a product development company since about the 90s, somewhere like that. I've got my certifications all the way through CSWE, which is the expert certification that's available through SolidWorks. I recommend you guys to check that out. It's a great way to hone your skills and get that certification as well. And I'm trained on about 7 different CAD systems. So some of the early days, but mainly late 90s. SolidWorks when it started about 98, I think it is. And then also the Creo program. Today what we're going to do, we're going to look at the different areas in SolidWorks. We're going to look at the interface. We're going to look at sketching. We're going to look at the part design, assembly, and drawing. And we're going to go through each one of these individually, and we're going to look at different tips and tricks for each one of those. Anyway, so with that, we're going to start with the interface. So one of the things that SolidWorks does a really good job is keeping your cursor, keeping your commands next to your cursor. You're not going up and hitting the menus. And that's what I'm going to remind you about today. So the first thing in the interface is if you hit the R key, that's going to bring up your most recent drawings that you have. And I've got these pinned. These are the items we're going to see today, and you can remove unused, unpinned items out of here. But one of the nice things that you can do also with this is before you bring it up, you can bring it up into different modes, resolved. You can, if there's different configurations, display state. You can use the speeded up large assembly modes and what have you. You can open it up in read-only mode. So this is a great way to bring your stuff up and have it handy what you're working on at the time. The thing that we have is the S shortcut key. Hit the S key, and then you're going to see, and we're going to get into how do we configure these things, and we can do this. And then say that we want to find a command, we'll type it in. That one isn't found because it's not particular to this here. So I'm going to show you how to modify that. But anytime you can add to this and grow this, and we're going to do this throughout. We're going to do this over and over again. So if we go up into here in your options, go to customize, and then you're going to go to your commands here. And then you're going to be able to go and add and look for all the different commands that you can drag onto your different pop-ups here. So we've got the part, we got the assembly, we got the drawing, and we got the sketcher. And then we could take any of these commands going through here, and we can drag those commands onto our bars, and that will have it's set up the way that we work, things that we're working on. You notice here, I've added text. I'm putting text on parts, embossing or cuts in there. And then also use images as background for sketching if I'm trying to recreate something. I did a lot of cookie cutters, and my daughter wanted that. So I had a picture she wanted, and I would sketch on top of it. So I added that. So I did the customization. The other thing you can do too is if you hold your right mouse button and pull it to the right a little bit, you see you've got this wheel. And right now I've got it set to 12 different items, which is quite a few, obviously, more than I really need. But if you come to customize and you got your mouse gesture, and you can have for different modes. Right now I had it for the view, for part, for sketch,
assembly, and drawing. This is where you can change it from 12 is a bit much, maybe get it down to 8. And you can add your commands in there too. There's also your keyboard. There's a lot of keyboard commands. And maybe you don't know what they are, but go ahead and you can pull this down and give me all the shortcuts. These are all the keys that have shortcuts that's in there. So you're going to find a lot of things, and we're going to go through some of these as we go through the presentation today. And you can print the list, you can copy the list. So you have all this in there. So once again, that's under the gear, and that's under customize over there. Now, the other thing is if I select, it's called the breadcrumbs. And as you see here, when I select that part, you can see here it's given me all the assembly information constraints. I can go into the part actually and click the part. Now, if I come over here, click the part, and I hit the D key, the D key brings it right where your cursor. SOLIDWORKS has done a great job of bringing things right to your cursor, those commands, and that you can come here and edit your constraints, but then also your part. You can edit your part right directly from here. So that's a nice feature there. Oh, I like this one. Hit the G key. Look what you find. This zooms in. I can zoom in a little bit more. Say I want to select that edge. Now that would have been impossible. Otherwise, I'd have to go in like this, right? Select that edge. Once again, hit the G key. And this is in anywhere you're at. This is your magnifying glass. And then you can zoom in, and then you can control what that zoom in is. The next thing that we're going to do is, I've seen people's screens and they get them really busy. You know, I'm not too crazy with having so many icons and columns in here and what have you. And if you hit the F10 key, what that does is set your menus off. Say you want a little larger presentation area. Once again, hit that again, and then it's back. You can also turn that off as well. Your sidebar here where your tree is, turn that off by hitting that. Oh, look at here. Here's an arrow. What does this do? Oh, look at here. This is really good. So if I want to turn off components, turn them on or off, I can show components here, turn them off. This here is if I want it to default, or I want this particular component here just to be hidden line removed, then that component's going to be that. And then if you go over here, and this is your transparency. So if I want to have this component here transparent, then you can click that. So you have control, you have your colors if you want to change. So this bar here was once again, and this is so helpful for turning components on and off. And it makes it really easy. And we're going to show you some other ways of doing that, but that just kind of shows you a little bit in the interface. Another thing that I think a number of people are not aware of, this area down in here. So you have, if your units are incorrect, you can change your units, do that here. The other thing is if I select an entity here, let's say if I select that entity, it's giving me the length of that entity. So instead of going up to interrogating, up in here, measure, if you know what you want to measure, then you can just select it, see if it'll take that, and it's got the diameter as you see down here. So I'd be very curious of how many people are aware of that. But that's something, there's so many little nuggets around just the interface itself. So, and now the other thing is, it's real annoying. We get this area of my menu area open a lot. So if I hit the Shift C, that collapses it all. So that kind of gets it all kind of cleaned up. Next, because I've got a lot of things here that I want to show. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do some things in, I'm going to hit my R key because I'm going to bring up my sketch. I don't know if if you just double click on the sketch, it brings it alive. You don't have to go over here. one of the questions I get asked sometimes when I've got an arc here, and one of the neat things, I've selected it and there's no dimension on it, but you see this little up in here? If I click that, I can change that now, and it's dimensions on it. And I'm using SOLIDWORKS 2025. So this is something that is new, and it's powerful. I just discovered this the other day, by the way. So I don't know everything, but there's just I was just playing around with it and I discovered that. So one of the things when we're dimensioning, I'm gonna use my S key. So now we have my commands here that I want, and I'm gonna go to smart dimensioning. And if I hold the shift key and I select the inside of that arc and I select that, I can dimension between those. And if I want to select, I'm going to get rid of that because I'm going to go ahead. Sorry, it doesn't like when you do the thing. You select it there. It's a little particular. So if I select the outside, hold the shift, hold the inside. I got the centers. I didn't get what I wanted. So I'm going to try that again. This is live, guys. I held the control key, not the shift key. Shift. To go to the inside. Now, if I want to go to the outside, I'm going to hit shift and the inside. I'm getting too fast here. Trish, I got to slow down. Tell me to slow down, Trish. Tell me to slow down. Shift inside, outside. There we go. I can do it. So that's good. Now, the other thing that people ask, how do I dimension arc length? So if you hold the control T, first endpoint, the second endpoint, and select the arc itself, then you've got the arc length. So that's real helpful. Sketching, many of you probably know this, but I'm going to tell you anyway, is we stretch a dimension here. Now I have it turned on that it tells me what the dimension is. Now if I input a dimension, at that time, it's going to put the dimension on, or if I don't input a dimension, it's not going to show it. Now, if I'm going to go ahead and sketch again, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to bring it out here. But what I want to do, I'm going to bring it back. And when I bring it back, you notice how it changed to arc. So I'm going to change it back to the end. Now it's going to change the line. See the pencil and see the little line? So that tells me it's going to be a line. So I'm going to bring it back to here, to the end point. And there's my arc. So you can quickly do that. And now as you see, I've got an input and I can put that in there. So one of the things that you need to do is go into your options, go on this sketch, and then you're going to see down here is on sketching is for it to input dimensions, properties, system options, sketch. Yeah, so you're going to want to create the dimension only when the value is entered. And this is the key thing that you want to highlight. Enable on-screen numeric input on entity creation. If you don't have those clicked on there, then you need to do that. So click those on. And if you don't know where something is, so if anything on dimensions, let's say, then I can come in here and start typing it in, and it's going to give you everywhere that it's found. And then I can click find out whatever one I want to look for, and it's going to take me right to whatever that is. So that's just a little thing to find it, because there is a lot of options that you find in there. All right, let's get out of here. So what I want to show you, the next thing is I'm going to hit my R key and I'm going to bring up a problem. One of the things we see, sometimes we get sketches where we've got issues, right? So what you can do, remember, I can go down here and it's telling me that it's overdefined. So I can double click it here. What that's going to do is take me into the sketch expert, and I'm going to go to diagnose. It's going to take a look at my sketch. It's going to say, hey, you've got 23 different solutions. And so it's telling me that I've got a couple equal lengths that are duplicated. So if I accept the first one, as taking that out of there. Now my sketch doesn't have the air on it. So that's a real powerful tool as your sketch expert. All right, so we're going to get out of this, and we're going to start to move into the part area now, which is the next area that we're going to go into. And once again, see what I did? I went up here, I go to File, but if I hit R, there's going to be my part. So I'm going to show another quick sketching thing here very quickly. And this is something that I don't know if many people know this, but I'm going to sketch on this surface here, there. And then you know how we use edge, convert edges? You don't need to do that. If you want to use these two edges here, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do my feature. It's going to ask me, do you want me to close this sketch for you? I'm going to take those two edges and close to those 2 points and say yes. So now I have a enclosed sketch, and I can go ahead and extrude that at that. So the other thing too is I can double click on a surface, so I don't have to go back over here and tell it up to what. Say I wanted the same height as the surface. I double click on that. It goes ahead and puts me into that selection mode and selects that face for that. So, all right, so we're going to go ahead and go into the part mode now. So one of the things that I do quite a bit, and being in product design, I do multi-body parts quite a bit, in that I'm doing top-down modeling, where I've got, and we're going to see that if I go back over to, excuse me, we're going to hit R key, not S key, and we're going to go over to this particular model here. This is an access point that I did for a customer in the grow industry, the pot industry, I guess, mostly. But it's a monitoring system for heat, moisture, and everything like that. When you look at my enclosure here, you're going to see that this is all one file. And once again, we're going to open that up, and we're going to take a look at it where we can look at our solid bodies. So I got an LED ring, I've got a top, I've got a dome, and I got a bottom, so I can isolate each one of these. So by doing it this way, I'm modeling in that my bosses, my mounting points are all lining up. I know that my shape, if I change my bottom shape, it's updating my top shape. It depends on what relationships are, so that I've develop my product this way, and then I right mouse click, and then I can insert into a new part, and then I output that a new part. I can add more features at that level, which doesn't show up on here, but my master model means that I can make the changes to the shape, and it's going to affect the adjoining parts that are associated with it. So it really is a good way to work when you're, especially if you got shapes, complex shapes, because many times, you know, those curvatures and what have you want it to match up. And that's a really good way of doing it. So we're going to go back to our part here. And I'm going to kind of show you real quickly. I'm going to get rid of that sketch. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the front plane. I'm going to sketch. Front plane, sketch, and then I'm going to just draw a rectangle in here. I don't care what size it is, that's fine. We're just going to do that, and then we're going to go with the extrude. And once again, I could have used my S key, but I didn't. So we're going to go mid. I like going mid plane only because now I know where the center of the part is. I've got planes on any side I can select, so I like kind of doing it that way. So one of the things that's really neat, and I mentioned, remember when you select this, and I'm going to bring that down here, I'm going to hit that, and then I'm going to hit the D key. I'm going to bring that down in here. So as you notice now, I can move my part, and now notice I have two separate bodies, my original, and I've got my additional item that I just made here as two separate parts. Now I can merge those together, but what I want to do on that is I'm going to I'm going to take this and I'm going to go ahead and move it. And I'm just going to slide it in here a little bit more like that. And then I want to use this. This could be something that, a feature that, another part that you want to cut out of this part here. So if I select both these parts, right mouse click, say combine, and I want to subtract. So I want to take this part from this part, and I'm going to say okay. Oh, wrong way. So I'm going to go back, redefine that, and I'm going to reverse it. So I'm going to take that out. Take that out. I'm going to say you, and then this here. And then now I can say, see preview. That's what I should have did before, because then I know that I did the right thing and I don't have to go back in there. So you've got it in there. So that is, when you got multi-bodies, you can use that other body to cut. You can use it for various reasons. So there's a lot of things that we can do in that. And I'm going to go ahead and move into assembly, and I'm going to bring my assembly up. We've got a lot of stuff, and I keep hitting the S key and not the other key. So we're going to bring this up here. So in assemblies, if you're aware or not aware that any of these parts that I have in here, I can always hit Control key and I can drag that in there. So I can drag another one there. Another thing I can do, which this is really, if you hit the Alt key, hold the Alt key, the edge, and as you notice, so as you see right now, the little icon down there with my cursor, I can't move it, but it shows that it found, it's going to find where it fit, like concentric, but also it's giving me concentric. It's giving me two actually constraints. That's, if we look at our mates right here, it gave me concentric, and it also gave me coincident to that surface too. So it gives you that. Another thing you can do, there's so many things in mates. If I select the bottom, now one of the key things too is move your cursor slowly. I'm going to select this face here, got the bottom of the other face. I'm going to hit my Control key, select that. Notice how this comes up. So you got all kinds of options. So if you select two different components, it's going to look for what kind of things can you do with it? What kind of constraints can you add? So what I'm going to do is what they call the profile center. So what it's going to do, it is going to go ahead and it's going to find the center of the slot in both directions, front to side, front to back. Now another thing we can do is, once again, I use this quite a bit, is I'll select the two surfaces here, and I haven't went anywhere up here in my menu system. I'm just clicking on the screen. Control key again, keeping my cursor right here. And then we got width command. So as I said, when you select certain faces, it knows what can you do with it. So it's going to give you those options. And it does that in your part mode design and in everything else. So I'm going to say, go ahead and do that. Bring that in there. Now, one of the things that, and hopefully, and let's say that I'm going to get rid of this item here, but now I want to bring in, I'm going to go back to my part here real quick. And I'm going to go ahead and look at that feature there. And I'm going to hit the Control key. And I'm going to go ahead and drag it to that surface there. So you can drag features from your tree, putting them on different surfaces. Didn't necessarily have to be on the top surface, could be on the side surface here. And we don't want that. We want this one here, which is our hole. And you can put it through whatever face you want. Okay, now another thing that I was thinking about is I want to put some rounds on this, and I missed this when I was talking, because this is, so we're going to delete that. And so I'm going to select an edge. So one of the things you wanted, the selection toolbar, turn that on right here. So if you select your edge, now notice how this pops up. So it's going to tell me all the different combinations of putting those edges on this part. So if I want all edges broken with that, if I want similar edges and what it's looking for on a face, the outside edges, the 4 is what I want. So there's a lot there, and sometimes maybe you move your cursor too fast and you lose it. So now let's go back into our assembly, and I'm gonna hit my R key again. And now let's say this feature here, I want to add another one of those, but I want to say right mouse click. And I'm going to say I'm going to copy it with mates. So it's going to copy this part. It looks at its mates. So let's go take a look at its mates. So right now, the concentric, I don't want that. If I want the same thing, the same hole, for whatever reason, whatever they may have been, then I would do that. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick a new hole. And then let's say that I want that at the same level for some reason. I'm going to say go ahead and repeat it. So now it put that in that same position as far as mating at the surface, but we're using this new hole thing. So that's copy with mates. But the key thing is you've got to hit these arrows up here to find it. And some people don't even realize that this feature is buried in it. It's just a quick way of assembling things very, very quickly. And now if I hit OK, it's going to put another one in there and you do it again, but just we're set and done. So we're done with that. So, all right. I needed to say OK on that. And then after that, you hit the X on that. So, and just a question on that, on especially on the assembly thing, centering the part and stuff like that. I'd be curious to how many people were aware of that, or like what we did here, hitting that Alt key as you drag it, selecting the feature. And if I would have selected here instead of the edge, when you select an edge, it's looking for the similar edge and diameter, and that's why we got the 2. But if I selected here, it would have selected just the diameter to insert in there. So hitting that Alt key when you're dragging your part around is really, really helpful. The other thing is many times, I'm going to go ahead and delete this particular constraint here, and now I can move this thing around. But if you right mouse click on the part, you select the part, now I can just move that part. And I always like to kind of get it in position about the way that I want to have it, move in there. It's just so much nicer. But if you look at, you hit it here, hit the part icon here, and actually let's use our D key. Let's pick our part, hit the D key, and now I'm going to hit it here. And now I can move my part, adjust it, kind of get it close to where I want it. It helps quite a bit to be able to do that. And then get in there. And then if for some reason I'm having trouble seeing something, I'm going to hit my G key, and then I can, select my surface and hit that G key again for the heck of it, because we can. And then remember hitting the control key, because otherwise it doesn't know what to do. So when I do that, don't move your mouse. And now I've got the option. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to center that within that slot. So let's see. Let's bring up another assembly real quick. One of the things that you have is what they call display states. And currently this is the default, and display state, I set one up called bearings. So what that did is I set something up, and I'm saving it under, if you go under configurations, you'll see display states. So I can set up and different display states, and it's going to replicate whatever I save off. So I'm going to go back to my default, which is here. And let's say that I want, let's go back to here, and let's say I want anything to have to do with the motor. So I'm going to type in motor here. And as you notice, I type in motor, it's actually isolating those 2 items there. And then what I want to do is I want to go back over to here, and I want to right mouse click and say, I want to add a display state, and I want to call it motor. So I got that. Now I can go back to here. And I'm going to exit out of that. And then now I want to go and I'm going to be working on it. So it's real nice when you got large assemblies and stuff like that, that you set up the display states. And that way you've got, now for some reason it didn't save it off. So, but we know how to do that. So we're just going to go in here. We're going to turn off everything it has to do. It doesn't say motor. And once I do that, I guess when you search on that little icon, it doesn't allow you to do that. So now I've got my motor. That's my display state. And let's see if I go back and go back to my default. Oh, I'm in a command. No, there, it's all back. So let's see if I did it right. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's go back to default. Here's something that you might really love. There's a cross section that I need, and somebody keeps asking me, bring up that cross section. So the time you set it up, this isn't a very interesting one, so I apologize, but you've done that. So we did cross section, but when we go cross section, I'm going to go ahead and again, on the bottom down here, you've got something that says save. Save it. So you can save it as an annotation view, section AA, or I'm just going to call this section view of motor. I'm going to save it. So this orientation and this section. So now I'm just going to go ahead and turn that off. And I'm going to go to my views. My views here, I'm going to open this up here. And there's my section view there. You can save those off, take you right to it, whatever you have displayed, and whatever that the scale was or the zoom state, it has all that in there. And just a reminder too, some of you may have seen this for a second, if you hit the space bar in an ISO, I can get the front, rotate it around. I want the bottom view. So space bar, and you can get any view that you want. Okay, and last thing I've got here, and I got a couple minutes, and I kind of left the drawing to last, and so I'm going to go ahead and just I'm going to hit my R key again, bring up my drawing. And one of the things that I really want to kind of show you on this is one of the noise things that I do is, you know how sometimes these views, and see the view outline here, that sometimes when you're typing text, all of a sudden you find out your notes are attached to your view. But if you double click your view, now this is what they call view lock. So anything that I type, if I was to go ahead and put in a note right now, hit my S key, and I'm going to put a note, and I'm going to put it right here. I don't want that. I don't want it to go on my part. Try that again. S key. So what it's trying to do, because I have note, and then I'm going to turn off my leaders so that we don't have a leader. And now I got my note. So now when I go to move this view, that's attached to the view. So let's say that, and this annoys me so much because no, that's not what I wanted. I don't want that attached to that. So what you can do is if you right mouse click, and what you can do is lock sheet focus, meaning that anything that I type, no matter where I type it, is now, so if I come in and put another note, I can put that note, and I'm going to turn off my thing here. I'm going to put a note right in here, right in the middle of my view. So now if I move my view, my note doesn't view. It's attached to the format. So that is something that, because of lack of time, I think is probably the thing in drawings that I really wanted to share, because I get annoyed so many times that I'm putting information in and it's attached to a view, and that's not what I wanted. So you can also lock views so you can't move them around. So lock focus, if you right mouse click, you select a view, right mouse click, and then you're going to be able to, we're going to unlock the sheet focus. And now when I do it, right mouse click, now I can lock. I can lock the view position, and I can lock the view focus on the view. So anything that's added is going to be on that view.